This girl Aga. Yeah. Hey, Temby, can you move down, brother? I appreciate it. I'll move you down, don't worry about it. All right, G-Jump. He's on. He should be here soon. He usually argues a digital physics argument, T-Jump, just letting you know. Hopefully I told him he could do like his presentation for like 15 minutes, and then if you want to talk to him for longer than 45, that's up to you, bro. Sully was right. He's waiting till the last possible second. He's getting his... That's so funny. Oh, my gosh. There's Zaga. All right, bro. Hey, Aga. You there? You might have to leave and come back, because I can't hear you. Say words. We can't hear you, Aga.
What are you doing?
Very low.
Nothing.
Very low, yeah.
Can you guys
Let
check
me
to see
be,
if
please.
Okay.
my stream
You're
on
on.
YouTube,
You're
like
on.
if the sound is working, make sure the sound's coming through on the YouTube side.
I want that fucking bar. That fucking bar right there.
Aggie, you know how to work the stage, right? I think he debated somebody else on stage. I think I saw that. I'm not sure. Aggie, you there?
Have you seen my glasses?
There you go. Okay.
Hey, sorry guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see your. I can't see your video, but maybe other people can.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Just a sec, I think I have to fix my microphone. I'll be right back.
Testing. Jack Burton, Ed.
Hello, are you guys able to hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Oh, okay, perfect. Perfect. Sorry, I was having issues with my microphone. Are we gonna begin the discussion pretty soon?
Hopefully.
8 o'clock. Yeah. I mean, if you guys want to start right now, you can.
Settings, audio. Testing. That seems to be working. Why wouldn't that work?
I'm also just gonna try screen sharing.
We can see your screen, Aggo. Caesar's working on his sound right now.
There we go. There you go. That should do it. All right. Yep. All right. Now it should work. Working. Now working. Testing. That should work. Forgot I have to do that. All right. Okay, I'm ready.
Does the PowerPoint look sort of legible? The PowerPoint slides I have?
Looks good.
All right. So, are we gonna begin? Can I begin?
Go ahead, start. You got 15 minutes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for TJump for agreeing to the discussion. Thank you for people in the audience. Hopefully, we're gonna have an interesting debate/discussion. TJump might even change his mind. Who knows? Anything is possible. So, unfortunately, it's 2 a.m. here, so I'm probably not going to be as sharp as I typically am. But the topic I want to discuss today is atheism. So I want to compare two different theories, theism versus atheism. So I'm going to use a set of criterion developed by the philosopher of science Thomas Kuhn in his landmark 1962 book, The Structure of Scientific Revolution. In the book, he came up with several different criteria that applies to theories, or it's supposed to tell us which theories are better compared to other theories. So one of these criteria is called simplicity. It basically says that theories which are simple are better than theories which are more complex. The second criterion is explanatory power, just as theories which explain the data are better compared to theories which don't. And these criterion are accepted by most rank and file scientists. So I'll be arguing that theism is a simple theory which A, minimizes theoretical commitments while maximizing explanation, fulfilling Kuhn's criteria for a paradigm that we ought to accept. So theism, by offering a singular unifying principle, the existence of God, provides a framework capable of explaining a broad range of phenomenon that its alternatives can't. So theism wins out on simplicity and explanatory power. So prior to beginning, I just want to define what I mean by simplicity. So let's consider 4 measures of simplicity that are used in physics. The reason I'm using these measures of simplicity which are used in physics is because I just want to make sure that I'm not biased, not giving biased accounts of simplicity. So the first way to cash out simplicity in physics is the number of fundamental assumptions or entities in a theory. Why talk about fundamental entities? Because fundamental entities have no further explanations, and we want to minimize bruteness or inexplicability in our view. Theism posits only one such fundamental entity, God, explanations, and a singular unifying explanation bruteness for or inexplicability in our view. Origin remain theism posits only one such fundamental entity, God, explanations, and a singular unifying explanation for the inexplicability. Simplicity, Kolmogorov complexity, which is the number of propositions or variables in some idealized language we can use to describe a theory with. Well, the less variables or less propositions, the better the theory, the simpler the theory. God can be described using very few propositions. He's perfection and he has all his other attributes like omnibenevolence, omnipotence, omniscience. And it makes it not so surprising that he wants to create other conscious entities, including humans. So the third way to cash out simplicity is arbitrary limits / invariance or symmetry. So I group these together because they're sort of related. So imagine you have 2 theories. One is space is infinite with the same laws of nature everywhere. The second theory is space has some arbitrary limits, say 1 times 10 to the 21st light years across, where the laws just break down. And I just have this illustration showing the first and the second theory. Well, obviously, the first theory is simpler because it contains less arbitrary limits. There's no limitation to space. And the second theory is just the laws of physics just arbitrarily break down without any sort of explanation. So that introduces a lot of inexplicability. And then invariance and symmetry. Laws or entities that remain unchanged under certain transformations are considered simple. Transformation means that a system or property does not change when subjected to specific operations or changes, such as rotation, translation, scaling, going backwards or forwards in time. So for instance, Newtonian mechanics, relativity is supposed to be a much simpler or more fundamental theory because it's invariant to transformation. Specifically Newtonian mechanics breaks down when gravity is very strong. General relativity doesn't break down, so it's invariant to that sort of transformation. So how is this relevant? Well, God is the paradigm example of an invariant theory under transformation. So for instance, God is unchanging. He's the same everywhere. It doesn't matter if we go back, forward in time. God is omnipresent. He's present at small scale, large scale. So by that measure, God is also simple. Now, let's look at the second theoretical virtue. So that shows that theism is a simple theory. But the second of Kuhn's criteria is explanatory power. So God explains a broad range of phenomenon that its alternatives can't. So for instance, it explains the regularities within the universe, the fine-tuning of the universe for life, the existence of consciousness, the existence of the moral domain, our knowledge of moral facts, religious experience, as well as psychophysical harmony. Naturalistic alternative theories can't explain any of these, or do so only at the cost of arbitrarily increasing complexity. So theism again wins out on simplicity and explanatory power. So let's see how naturalism doesn't predict any of these phenomenon. Let's look at regularities first, the existence of law-like regularities in the universe. The universe contains laws and certain regularities. And these need or cry out for an explanation. Well, conditional on naturalism, the slice or area of probability space in which there are regularities is very small compared to total probability space. So naturalism doesn't at all predict that there should be any sort of regularities, because on conditional on naturalism, spontaneous disorder is much more likely than spontaneous order, and therefore the slice of probability space under which naturalism produces any sort of regularities is very small. Okay, even if some sort of naturalistic mechanism produces regularities, it doesn't really produce any interesting, or the probability it produces any sort of interesting patterns is very, very small. So the slice of probability space in which a naturalistic hypothesis produces anything interesting is very small compared to total probability space. And we know this from George Conway's Game of Life. So regular natural events or law-like natural events could produce any sort of uninteresting regularities. For instance, they could produce an infinite amount of straight lines, or they could produce an infinite amount of triangles or circles, which never interact. But we know from George Conway's Game of Life that in order to produce any sort of interesting pattern, he had to tweak a lot of variables, and it was a lot of work to produce patterns which interact in a complex manner. So again, the slice of probability space in which interesting patterns are produced, in which interesting patterns are produced is very small compared to total slice of probability space. What about life? Again, very small probability that interesting patterns produce life. And we know this from the cosmological constant. If the cosmological constant was off by a minute fraction, so if it's not found within this tiny sliver of space over here, the universe would either collapse back on itself within seconds of forming, and therefore no life, or would expand at such a high rate that no two molecules would ever interact, and therefore no complexity would ever form, and no life would form as a result. Even if life is produced, the existence of conscious life is exceedingly unlikely on naturalism. Why? Because the only horse in town to explain why there should be any sort of consciousness on naturalism is evolutionary theory. But imagine you have the following scenario. Imagine there's bodily damage and it directly causes aversive behavior. In such a case, qualia is unneeded. So if bodily damage directly causes aversive behavior without any sort of qualia, why would evolution ever select for any sort of qualia or understanding? So there's no specific reason on naturalism why there should be conscious entities. But even if evolution produces conscious entities, the probability it produces rational agents is again exceedingly small. Imagine the following scenario. Bodily damage causes the taste of cheese. The taste of cheese causes aversive behavior. If this was the case, if psychophysical laws were set up in such a way, evolution would select the taste of cheese in response to bodily damage. So it would produce an irrational, inappropriate qualia or mental state in response to bodily damage. Same thing would apply to the smell of roses. If bodily damage caused the smell of roses, and smell of roses caused aversive behavior, then the smell of roses would be selected in response to bodily damage. And you can put anything in the middle of these parentheses. So evolution could select any mental state, could pair any mental state with bodily damage. It doesn't matter how inappropriate it is. So there's no specific reason why evolution would select appropriate mental states in response to certain physical states. right? So the probability that it would produce rational agents, even if it produces consciousness, is exceedingly small. What about knowledge of moral facts? Again, a naturalist would have to say that they would have to appeal to moral Platonism, which is that moral facts are grounded in acausal entities. How could acausal entities influence our beliefs about them? If acausal entities can't influence our beliefs about them, then why would we ever expect naturalism to produce moral knowledge? Even if naturalism produced moral knowledge, would we have any reasons to obey any sort of Platonic entities? What would be the reason why we should obey any sort of acausal Platonic entities? In fact, under evolution, we're in the exact same situation that this person Mary is in, that I'm going to describe using this vignette. Imagine a person named Mary who one day finds out she's in the Matrix, and the programmer of the Matrix tells her that she was programmed to believe that she lives in the real world. And without this belief, the programming of the Matrix would fall apart. Despite this knowledge, she continues to believe that she lives in the real world. Obviously, Mary is completely unjustified in believing that she lives in the real world. We're in the exact same epistemic situation if moral Platonism is true, or if naturalism... sorry, how much time do I have left?
2 minutes.
Hello? 2 minutes. If naturalism is true, we're in the exact same situation as Mary, except replace the word matrix with society, and instead of the matrix programmer programming our moral beliefs, it's evolution programming our moral beliefs. Just because evolution programming our moral beliefs doesn't give us any sort of justification to believe they're true. In fact, we should believe that our moral beliefs or our beliefs about ethics is unjustified. All right, so I just want to preempt some of Tom Jump's arguments, which is the unique empirical prediction epistemology that he has. So his position is that no entity is worth believing unless its constituents have been demonstrated to exist empirically, or it makes unique empirical predictions. But I contend he has, this sort of epistemology undermines itself. So for instance, Tom Jump believes in an external world, that he has accurate senses, that other minds exist, that historical events are true, but all of these make no unique empirical predictions. Furthermore, if we want to find out how scientists actually conduct research, or actually how they confirm theories, we should talk to scientists themselves. This is exactly what this historian of science, George Brush, tried to do in a series of case studies, which examined prediction versus accommodation in science. What he found is that, except in a single case, temporally novel predictions played a minor role in the acceptance of theories. So in the vast majority of cases, paradigm cases in science, no temporally novel predictions were generated. Instead, scientists accepted theories based on certain theoretical virtues like simplicity. Paradigm example, a typical case is the heliocentric model versus the geocentric model. Both theories make the exact same prediction, except one is much simpler. Specifically,
wrap it up.
Okay, one is much simpler. People accepted the heliocentric model much before it generated any temporally novel predictions. Anyway, I'm sort of done.
All right, so first thing, in physics, if it hasn't been empirically demonstrated, it's garbage. The complexity of a non-empirically demonstrated thing is equivalent to, where is it? Complexity of a new object or hypothesis is determined by the combined complexity of empirically verified objects needed to construct something analogous to it, along with the extent to which it deviates from these known objects. So if you posit a new thing, like a new ontology, say God or whatever, the complexity of that object is equivalent to how many of the known things that have been empirically demonstrated would be required to build the thing you're asserting. So God, who is infinitely powerful and create infinitely many universes, is equivalent to literally infinitely many universes in complexity. The fact that you can assert it's some magic new singular property, we don't care, doesn't make a difference. Physics doesn't allow those things. So this is just a basic thing in science. You're only allowed to use combinations of things that have been empirically demonstrated in order to build new hypotheses, and any new addition is a new assumption, and the assumption is equivalent to the complexity of however many things it would take of the known stuff to build that thing. So God is, by definition, the least simple hypothesis. The fact that you like to claim it's one property, no one cares. That's why no one uses God in physics. Explanatory power is just, can you make up an explanation? Anybody can do that. No one cares. What matters in explanatory power is the ability to explain things with combinations of stuff that has already been demonstrated to empirically exist. If it has been empirically demonstrated to exist and can explain lots of stuff, that's better than a bunch of different things explaining lots of stuff. But just being able to make up a silly imaginary being who can explain everything doesn't count as explanatory power. We don't care. Anybody can literally do that. So when you argued that theism can explain things that naturalism or atheism can't, that's just simply false. Anybody can make up anything. So I can just make up a quantum particle that completely determines everything in the universe, and that explains literally everything. Problem solved. Very, very simple. Problem is there's no evidence of it. There's no empirical demonstration that such a thing exists. It's just making shit up. The same thing as just making up a God. So based on everything in physics, the reason God is not accepted as a valid explanation in physics is because none of the properties of God have been empirically demonstrated. The only hypotheses accepted in physics are things that are combinations of known principles, particles, and laws in physics, demonstrated in derivative equations. That's why, like, string theory is a combination of vacuum energy demonstrated in the Casimir effect and Gauss early universe inflation. Both of those things have an empirical basis. So even though string theory itself doesn't, there's no strings, the parts do. That's why string theory is simpler than a God. Not because it has more parts, we don't care. Not because it has different features, we don't care. It's simpler than a God because it's a combination of things that have been demonstrated to exist. God is not a combination of things that have been demonstrated to exist. Therefore, God is infinitely complex. String theory is very simple. That's why the consensus in physics is not God, but string theory or many worlds or multiverse. Those are all significantly, infinitely simpler than a God because they're all combinations of principles, particles, and laws that have been empirically demonstrated. You mentioned something about novel predictions. Novel predictions doesn't mean like a unique prediction that is exclusive to the hypothesis. That's just a basic misunderstanding of science. No one ever claims that ever for any reason. It's literally against all of science. Problem of underdetermination. It's always the case that any empirical data can be explained by infinitely many hypotheses at all times. It's impossible to make a mutually exclusive prediction. We don't care about that. All we care about is who made it first. So if you claim there's an external world, you predict you'll be able to knock over a chair because there's an external world and you can knock over a chair, and that's a new prediction that's never happened before. Congratulations. You now have reason to believe that the external world is real. You don't actually need proof. You don't need a mutually exclusive prediction. Not a thing. So predictions about the external world have made many predictions. That's why it's justified. They don't need to be mutually exclusive. We don't care about that. I'm pretty sure that debunks everything you said, and I don't really need to go into much more. There's a bunch of stuff about Thomas Kuhn. I really don't care. Bunch of stuff about whether novel predictions are the determining factor in what convinces scientists. Don't care. What matters is what justifies the position of belief, not what actually convinces them. Many scientists believe things before, like Einstein believed general and special relativity before anything was discovered. He liked it best. What matters is in the scientific model, what is the criterion that determines what is the consensus view, and it's the predictions. That's why the Nobel Prize for the Higgs boson was discovered not when the theory was accepted, not when all the scientists said, yeah, this is probably right, but when it was actually discovered. The scientific method is determined by empirical values, and nothing else. That's just a fact. You don't get an opinion on it. You don't really care. You think about it. If it's not empirically verified, it's you haven't provided a way to differentiate whether your hypothesis is just a figment of your imagination rather than a thing that exists in reality. All right, bring it in there.
Okay, so there are a bunch of claims, a bunch of assertions that you made that I definitely disagree with. So you said it's the only things which we're justified in believing are a combination of things which have been empirically verified. So do you believe in quarks?
Yep.
Do you think quarks are a combination of things which have been empirically verified?
Yes, they have made novel predictions. That is correct.
No, but you said, remember, the claim you made is we're only justified in believing in things which are combinations of other stuff which have been empirically validated or verified. So I'm asking, What is the quark made of?
So I said that if you're positing something new that's never been discovered before, the parts that the thing is made of need to be things that have been empirically demonstrated, like energy. Quarks are made of energy. Have we demonstrated energy with novel predictions? Yes. So quarks are made of energy.
You think quarks are composed of bits of energy?
Yes, everything is energy. Why did you ask such a stupid question?
Okay, I don't think quarks are composed of energy, but I can just move on.
What?
Yeah, I don't think quarks are actually composed. They're not like bits of energy that compose a quark.
Energy is there is only energy. That's all there is. Like what?
There's only energy. Okay, there's no like subatomic particles, quarks. There's
those are all made of energy. Like that's energy. Like I don't know. Like literally everything is just energy.
I don't think that's scientific consensus, but that's fine. I can just move on.
Fact.
Okay, if you say so.
That's
maybe
why
you can provide the source.
Maybe you can
provide the source that quarks are actually composed of bits of energy, and that's scientific.
First law of thermodynamics.
Consensus. I'm sorry. What was that?
First law of thermodynamics.
First law of thermodynamics just says energy.
Yes, according to the current understanding of physics, quarks can be considered made of energy because they are elementary particles with mass and charge and are both forms of energy. Wow, basic physics. Congratulations. 5 seconds.
Okay, you think we actually observe bits of energy?
We don't need to observe anything directly. Like evidence is if you posit something, make a prediction, confirm the prediction, and that's evidence of the thing you posited, even if you didn't directly observe it. It's called indirect observation. So you don't need to directly observe something to have empirically verified it. Like neutrinos, we never directly observed a neutrino, but we did observe predictions. We made predictions based off of neutrinos, like little bubbles in argon, and those were confirmed, which then verified the existence of neutrinos. You don't need to directly observe things. Indirect observation is a thing in science. I don't know, like you just brought up you basically don't understand the scientific method in these two cases, but no actual constructive criticism of my position. You just don't understand science. Like
when
indirect
bits
observation
of energy were discovered, what do you think bits of energy are constituted of? You said we can't stipulate anything novel in our ontology unless it's constituted by things we already know of. So what do you think bits of energy, if you think energy is fundamental, what do you think bits of energy are composed of?
That is not the argument. Again, this is you misunderstanding the argument. If you're positing something new that's never been discovered,
bits of energy,
the complexity of the thing is equivalent to whatever else of the known things it would take to build it, essentially. But after you can say magic leprechauns exist, and then just the a priori complexity of magic leprechauns is extremely high. But if you then make a novel prediction that if magic leprechauns exist, there will be pots of gold at the end of rainbows, and you discover pots of gold, the complexity doesn't matter anymore. You've already confirmed they exist. So you can say energy exists.
I heard you distinctly say that.
Stop. So let's say energy exists. Let's say it has a complexity of infinity. I don't care. Then you say, if energy exists, here are these laws of thermodynamics I predict to be true. We test them. They're correct. Congratulations, you've now justified belief in energy. It doesn't matter how complex they are. So you've conflated these two very separate parts of the argument. One, what is the a priori complexity of a new hypothesis? It is equivalent to combinations of known stuff. And then you're trying to conflate this with energy or quarks, which have been empirically demonstrated. It doesn't matter what their a priori complexity is. They've been a posteriori demonstrated. So they're reasonable to believe. So the two different parts of the
But
argument is
when,
one.
when you say they've been empirically demonstrated,
Yeah.
is all you're saying is that they have made some unique predictions, which are they're a simple entity
Unique
that-
is irrelevant. Unique is not a thing. Novel predictions. Do they predict a pattern that has never been seen before and get it right consistently? The answer is yes.
Yeah, but
It
you
doesn't
can
need to be
you
unique.
can predict the same thing. You can predict the same thing,
Don't care.
thing with the
Literally,
notion
no
of
one
energy
cares.
as you can with like tiny
No one cares.
bits of like little
No one
aliens
cares.
which act
No one cares.
exactly the same way as energy.
I
So
already addressed-
so
I
energy
already
makes
addressed
no
this.
unique empirical
Wait, stop,
predictions.
stop. No one cares about unique predictions. This is, again, you not understanding science. There's a thing in science called the problem of underdetermination. Literally, all empirical data can be explained by infinitely many hypotheses always. It is
Yeah, I
literally
agree.
impossible to make a unique prediction. Can't be done. Not a thing. No one cares. What matters is do you have a hypothesis that can make novel predictions first? That's all we care about. If you have an idea that can predict things in the future consistently and get it right before anybody else does, that's reason to believe that that theory is correct. And all of the others that you can post hoc and make up to explain the same data, we don't care about. They're oblivious. So what's real evidence is the ability to make novel predictions consistently first. You do that, that's a reason to accept your hypothesis is true. We don't care that a bunch of other ones can also post hoc make up the same crap. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
Okay. So I don't know, why do you think empirical evidence is irrelevant? Like what scientists do? Like what scientists have
majority.
I heard you say there's like overwhelming consensus.
Yeah, there
This
is.
doesn't seem like overwhelming consensus, is it?
Yeah, there is overwhelming consensus. Like, because the consensus is
66% agreement is overwhelming consensus.
yeah, because the 33 are mostly religious nut jobs. So yes.
Okay, man. Okay.
Yeah.
So anybody who disagrees with you is a religious nut job, and their opinion is not to be taken seriously. And okay, got it.
If people have a motivated religious reason to adopt a position, which
why can't I just say you're motivated to adopt certain positions?
What's my motivation?
You could have any number of subconscious motivations. So, for instance, maybe you don't like the fact that you're going to be judged after death. Maybe you lead a lifestyle that, like,
I just grant that. So let's say I can just grant we're judged after death. I don't care. That's irrelevant to the data. All I care about is the data. Which hypothesis makes novel predictions? The only one that's doing that is the physicalist hypothesis. That's it.
Physicalism is a metaphysical hypothesis. It doesn't make novel testable predictions, future testable predictions.
It does all the time.
Exactly the same predictions can be made if you're substance dualist.
We don't care. We don't care if you can post hoc make up the same stuff.
No, but it's not post hoc, because dualism was formulated prior to physicalism, and it makes the exact same empirical predictions. So if anything, you're post hoc rationalizing.
Oh my god! So that's not what post hoc means. Post hoc means guy A, a neurologist, predicts something about the I don't know, the Wicca's area of the hearing sensor of the brain, how it calculates or how it processes hearing. And this happens way after the invention of the field. Like, we don't care who invented the field. Like, sure, I grant that the dualists or idealists were the originators of most of these fields. 100%. Absolutely agree. We don't care about that. That's not the part that's important. What's important is the modern day people doing most of the research are materialists, physicalists. They make predictions based off of the assumption that the brain is physical and that's all it is. And they make predictions about Wicca's area or Broca's area or the
33% are not physicalists, and they make predictions too.
Stop. And based off of these predictions, they get consistent results that are consistently correct the vast majority of the time. Now, post hoc would mean taking those that were made under the materialist hypothesis and then explaining them backwards to fit the idealist paradigm. That's post hoc. It's not post hoc to say the people who originated it were different. That's not what post hoc means. We don't care about that. What we care about is what hypothesis is making the current novel predictions. And post hoc is explaining those away. Now, I grant that there are some idealists making work in the field and then doing predictions and things, and that's fine. Like, if they take over and do more and better work, then it's totally justified to believe in idealism. Sure, go for it. They're not.
Okay, I understand. But did you not concede? So 33% of these scientists are dualists. Do you think they're not making predictions?
No, I grant they can be.
Do you think materialist neuroscientists are somehow superior in their empirical success? Do you have any evidence for that at all?
Yes, they're the consensus view.
No, but that's relevant. Do you remember the question I asked you? So the question was, do you have any evidence that materialist neuroscientists are making more successful predictions compared to dualist neuroscientists?
Yes, because the neuroscientists who are making the best research are all physicalists and materialists who are in the National Academy of Sciences and the Royal Society, who have the most decorated progress that have ever been done in the field. Like, I don't know. Is that good enough?
No. What do you mean? We're talking specifically about neuroscientists, right?
Yes. So the very top.
Any evidence at all?
Yes, what I literally just presented. The very, very top, the Royal Society, the National Academy of Sciences, the two most decorated, most impactful scientific organizations on the planet who do the most research and win the most Nobel Prizes, are like 90-something% atheist.
Okay. So you said those who win the most Nobel Prizes, etc., are like 90% atheists or something like that, right?
Yes. So you asked.
So if I showed you a study which showed that the overwhelming majority of Nobel Prize winners are Christians, would that be evidence against your hypothesis?
No, because that wouldn't address the question you just asked.
Okay.
So like I know I think it's 60.
If I
something
showed you that
percent.
the two current top neuroscientists in the world are both non-physicalists, would that be evidence against your hypothesis?
Possibly, sure.
Okay, so Giorgio Tononi is not a physicalist.
Definitely not one of the top neuroscientists, but okay.
Okay, and then the other one is, I think, Penfield. Most cited neuroscientist is, I don't think is a physicalist either.
So top neuroscientists: Eric Kandel, Joseph Ledoux, Adele Diamonds, Christoph Koch, Patricia Goldman, Michael, I can't pronounce that, Antonio Damasio, Carl Friston, world's best neuroscientists. Here we go.
Christoph, I
Solon Snyder.
with you in this room something like 5 years ago, talking about consciousness very rationally and about how consciousness is going to emerge from brain, and this is very, very typical.
What was his name? What's his name?
I do that myself.
I think I don't think he's alive anymore.
I don't
But
care.
do you
What's his
think
name?
do you think Christoph Koch is a physicalist?
No idea. What was the names of the people you listed? You said the top two.
Tononi?
Julian Tononi.
I mean, I'm just talking
Not
about
even-
most cited.
I'm looking at the
neuroscientist.
most cited. I'm at the top 100. Top 100 most cited. He's not in the top 100. Unless I missed-
I'm pretty sure he is.
So how do you spell his name? Julian Ton.
Eonony.
Nope, not in the top 100.
Okay.
We got Solomon Schneider with 279,000. John Trunjowski, 297. Oh, I'm going the other way. Publications. Trevor Robbins, 210. Bruce Ekmcwin, 272,000. Fred Gage, 241,000. Mark Matson, 200,000. Raymond Dolan, 185,000. Mark Hamlet. I'm going through the list. This is the top 100. The lowest is 76,000 with John Rubinstein.
Yeah.
100.
Not to mention most of these scientists are property dualists. They're not reductive physicalists like you are. So
Property
if
dualism.
they're not reductive physicalists, would
Property dualism doesn't matter.
that mean that
You can be a physicalist with property dualism. Like, no,
property
yeah.
dualism is a better hypothesis suddenly because these top neuroscientists believe, or most of these top neuroscientists are property dualists?
Possibly. I really don't care. Like property dualism isn't incompatible with materialism. I don't care.
Okay. You think property dualism? Okay, that's fine. I don't really know where to go from here because I feel like you're not responding to the arguments. There's a fundamental disagreement about whether temporally novel predictions are required for scientific confirmation. I provided a case study of
No.
theories
You
which
didn't
were
say confirmation.
confirmed within science,
Whoa.
like
Remember, you
general
said
relativity.
pause. Remember, the point wasn't what constitutes a confirmation in science. It was what convinces scientists. Those are two different questions. Scientists are convinced way before you have scientific confirmation. As I mentioned, the Higgs boson was accepted like 40 years by the majority of physicists before it was scientifically confirmed. But for it to be scientifically confirmed, they had to empirically demonstrate it, and that's what won the Nobel Prize. Scientists grant that they accept things way before it's scientifically confirmed. But in order to scientifically confirm it, you need the empirical verification. So like Einstein accepted general relativity before there was any evidence for it. Scientists accept theories way before there's evidence for it. But what constitutes...
So I'm not talking about what convinced scientists. I'm talking about why certain theories became consensus. And why certain theories became consensus wasn't because they made temporally novel predictions or future testable predictions. As case studies show that paradigm theories in science were accepted not because they made novel testable predictions, but they were they had other theoretical virtues. So
That's literally what I just said.
It seems like you're just denying the empirical evidence regarding why theories
literally
are
what
accepted.
I just said. So why they're accepted? Why scientists choose to believe theories?
Why they became the consensus,
Way
right?
before the empirical verification. So like the Higgs boson was a consensus way before the empirical verification. Higgs boson was accepted by the consensus 40 years before the empirical verification. And I agree, that's because of simplicity. The simplicity of it being a combination of all the physical stuff. It is not a new ontology. It is not, he didn't posit magic leprechauns. If he posited magic leprechauns or an invisible god Sky Daddy, it would not have been the consensus until you had novel
false
prediction.
from a historical perspective. People accepted the Copernican model not because it was planets were supposed to be constituted by, material stuff that the people discovered, because nobody knew the constitution of matter. The Copernican model was widely accepted by people because it was a very simple theory compared to the Ptolemaic or the geocentric model. So
I don't understand what you just said. So like the heliocentric model was accepted because it didn't add anything new. It was, again, a combination of all of the already known stuff. There was no new stuff added. Like if you added a new thing like magic leprechauns, which caused the planets to be in heliocentric or something, it would not have been accepted. The reason it was accepted was because it added nothing new. It was a combination of already known stuff, just in a different orientation. That was it. So yes, I grant,
already known stuff, like you think people knew the constituents of matter in the 1500s?
So comparing the two hypotheses, like heliocentrism versus geocentrism, neither one posited an extra entity, like a god, that the other didn't. So all of the parts that were entailed in one hypothesis and that were accepted to exist of the geocentric model were the exact same parts that were posited in the heliocentric model. The heliocentric model just explained extra stuff. So as I mentioned in my intro, what constitutes a simpler hypothesis is one that is a combination of all the already known stuff that can explain more. So the heliocentric model was a combination of all of the already known stuff that was accepted in the Ptolemaic geocentric model, just explained other stuff, more stuff, and better. So it added zero extra entities. There were no extra assumptions, no new ontologies. It was the exact same stuff. So if you're already using things that have already been verified and already accepted to exist scientifically and just combining them in a new way that explains extra stuff, absolutely, 100% agreement. Better, simpler, 100% agree. If you add a new thing like an invisible Sky Daddy, that's a new ontology. You're not talking about the same thing anymore. You've added an extra assumption. You've added a whole new ontology of extra assumptions that makes it not analogous to the heliocentric geocentric analogy.
I can just say that adding in a novel, even if I was to accept that sort of criterion, I can just say that adding God is not a novel entity because it's just another mind, or just another agent. We know agents exist, minds exist, so it's not a violation of ideological simplicity. I'm not adding anything new to the world. I'm just adding another agent with some more power, more knowledge, more goodness, or whatever.
Outside of space-time that isn't made of physical stuff, that
why should I accept that everything in the universe has to be made of physical stuff? It's just ridiculous.
Well, the only thing that's been confirmed.
I feel like we're going on circles. Unfortunately, I have to go. It's like 4 a.m. in the morning here, and I don't want to wake up my wife. So,
just to respond to that real quick. The reason the physical stuff has been confirmed, the non-physical stuff hasn't. That's the only reason why it's the default. And so that's why you could say there's physical minds out there like aliens or whatever, and that would be fine. But to say there's a non-physical mind would be adding an extra assumption of the non-physical stuff because that hasn't been empirically demonstrated yet.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for the discussion. I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a nice night.
Okay. You too. Bye.
All right. What's up, guys? Anybody in the audience want to talk about stuff or whatever? Overview.
I thought Aga was going to take some questions, but I guess not. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
It's like 4 a.m. for him. That's fine.
How do you think the discussion went? Did you like it?
Normal.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Anybody questions? Raise your hand. Questions or whatever. Well, thank you, Frank, for setting it up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I tried to tell him if he could do it earlier, but he never got back to me. I guess he was busy preparing his PowerPoint. So yeah. All right, man. I'm out. So if you want to close it, if you want me to close it down, or are you gonna? What do you want to do?
Yeah, probably. If nobody's got any questions, we can close it down.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming in. See you later.